Hello and welcome to day 52 of the 1000 Days of No Code Challenge. Alright, let me ask you something. We've all gotten reminders like your order is on the way, your meeting is coming up, or sometimes reminders for birthdays on social platforms. Ever wondered how does this even work when you're not active on the application? That's where Backend Workflow comes into picture. They are like the backstage crew of your application, handling everything quietly in the background, ensuring tasks are got done without interrupting the user experience. In today's video, we will explore what backend workflows are and why they are important. So let's get started. Before we get started, I would like to tell you where backend workflows can be found and how do we use that. So we had design here, we have workflows here, and we have data here. In between, we can see backend workflows. The backend workflow has been moved here just a couple of days before I am shooting this. Prior to this, it would have been in the settings. You have to go to API and then enable workflow APIs and backend workflows from here. Now it looks like you can access the backend workflow without enabling this. So let's try to understand how do we create backend workflow and what are the advantages of it. You might wonder if we could create the same workflow over here and here, then why do we need backend workflows? So the main advantage is backend workflows are running on Bubble server, which means the user need not be active on the browser for some action to take place. Let's say, for example, you want to send a weekly report to the manager stating these are the number of registrations that has happened this week. Now, normally you would want the user to be on the page so that you can run the workflow and send an email or something like that. But when you want something to run when the user is not active on the application, then that is done using backend workflows. In today's video, we will just understand the options available in the backend workflow and we will create a very simple backend workflow just to get a hang of it. So once we are in the backend workflow tab, click on new and you can see the options available. So in general, we have API workflow, we have recurring event, we have a thing is modified, and then in custom, we have create a custom event. For today, we are going to look at API workflow. We can give any endpoint name to this, and this is a trial that we are doing, and that's why I'll give the name as trial. You can uncheck all these three, okay? We will cover about this functionality in some of the future videos. We can add the parameters from here. Just to understand how this works, I'm going to add one parameter and I'm going to call this as user. Type of data is user. So I'm going to select that. And now I can do any action on this particular user. Just for understanding, let's send an email to that particular user. So I'm going to email and then send email is the action that I want to select. Whom are we going to send the email to? That is this particular user's email. Yeah, and then you can have the sender name, which is testing email from. Then we have sender name. We can call it as ABCD. You can add CC and BCC. Subject, testing email from backend. You can add a body. And now our simple backend workflow is set. Let me go to the admin page where we have the list of users, and let me add an icon on the right side. Let me just change the padding to 0, 0, 0 and 0. Let's make this as 25, keys to 25. Go to appearance, select email as an icon and select it. Let's bring this to center. And just so that we have some space on the right and left, we can add some padding to it. 5 and 5. And when we click on this particular icon, the way we can call a backend workflow is search for schedule and select schedule API workflow. API workflow, this is the only backend workflow that we have created. So I'll select that. Because we have added a parameter, it'll ask you who the user is. right? And in this case, it's parent group user. It will ask you, when do you want to schedule this? In the workflow that we have seen so far, we didn't have the option of scheduling. Whenever the button is clicked, the workflow would run immediately, right? In this case, we can schedule it. And I'm going to search for current and select current date and time. And I will add minutes to this and type 2. This means the backend workflow will be scheduled 2 minutes after I click on that particular icon. Let's see how this functions. I'm going to the front end, refreshing the page. So I'm going to click on this particular icon and let's go to logs, scheduler, and click on show. You can see that in 2 minutes, a particular workflow has been scheduled. And you can see the ID here, the API event here, and who is the user who scheduled this particular backend workflow. Parameter, we had one parameter which is user, and this is the user for which this particular backend workflow has been scheduled. So if I go back and search for this particular user, then it is this abcd@rit7.com. That's precisely what we scheduled this particular email for. I'll go to Meghna and schedule an email for her. If we come back to logs and click on show, you can see 2 APIs being scheduled, one for this user and another for this user. At this moment, you might wonder, why is this even useful? We will explore that in the next video. So today, we've understood who the invisible worker of our app is and how does it work. If you have ever coded before, you can imagine how complex developing backend workflows could be. But with Bubble, it is so much easier, and the best part, we don't have to write a single line of code for any of this to happen. In the next video, we will explore a bit more of backend workflow and see how we can leverage this particular functionality to make the app even more smoother. Till then, take care, and I will see you in the next one.